Welcome back to MCP Connects. Today we're in Inglewood, California for an incredible conversation with our friend Sean Hill. Sean doesn't just wax poetic, he drops knowledge about life, empathy, and connection. He also shares a powerful poem that he dedicates to our rock stars and hospitals around the world. Are you ready?
Loving you is easy because you're beautiful. It's funny how long it took me to say that to you. Building up courage like Lego blocks to say something so basic, so factual. You are beautiful. It's funny because it's not so hard now. See, at first I kept thinking about how it meant so much to say it. Like saying that to you means I like you, and your response might mean that you like me, and that result would be crazy because then I wouldn't know what to do next. The truth was, I didn't really know what to do when I first said it. I was so excited about possible futures and saddened by a few regretful pasts. Somehow the last thing I even thought about was now. So now, I'm fully present. I'm so present you could open me. I'm so present that when a first grade teacher asks who is present in class, all the kids respond with my name. I'm so present that when Michael J. Fox traveled back to the past to go back to the future and then back to the past again, he realized he was me anywhere he went. The present, right now, you are so beautiful. And no, it's not a compliment. It's a fact. It's a truth.
Joining us from his creative cove in Inglewood, California, we have poet, actor, TED speaker, and human being, Sean Hill. Sean, how are you?
What is up? Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Man, you too.
Yeah.
RockSTARs how are things? We got, life's rolling. Yeah. The days have changed. Talk to me about your life. How are things?
My goodness. So yeah, at first it was like the toughest transition in the world, but I was still so focused on people though. I was still focused on giving back in a really good way because it inspired me to do a workshop for everyone on my social media, right?
Yeah.
So doing a workshop where you get to like kind of let people think on their own, you get to let people feel on their own or help them focus on what they want to work out and think about and feel out. So it was really freeing, actually. It was like those first couple months, I started feeling more free. And that was like it was a hard but wonderful transition for sure.
So I think you nailed it when you said focused on people, giving back in a positive way. I think there's something kind of sadly or tragically missing in society, right? Where we're very focused internally. We're very focused on self. That's kind of a social media almost requirement, right? And so the fact that you're taking social media and turning it outwards and focusing on others and giving back positively is one, very appreciated. But two, how does that make you feel? How does that impact you on a day-to-day?
Well, it's kind of, I almost take it for granted sometimes, to be honest. Yeah, if we're gonna be honest, let's be honest, bro.
Dig in.
I feel like I kind of take it for granted when I know I can use poetry in such a healing way and creative way for myself to feel good, feel free about things, kind of to vent out things. Anything I can do with it, I can let go of so many things or focus on something, right? So specifically, I'd say it was it was almost too convenient, because then the balance of an art like this is that I'm able to think creatively, critically, and emotionally intelligent about what's going on in the world, what's going on with myself, and then also with friends or family or even in relationships, right? But to get to a place where I can do that for other people and provide that tool for other people, then it almost can become a thing I have to make sure to balance out and make sure I give myself my time also to still do my own poetry, right? So, I'm been grateful about that experience to be able to give back in that way. And then at the same time, it's like that balance of making sure you're included in that giving back as to not deplete myself. You know what I mean? So it was a good balance. Yeah. There were some days where I was like, why did this workshop last 3 hours? Why did it only was supposed to last one? oh my God, like, you know, but at the end of the day, I was still feeling great because so many people were moved by it, or people were sending me their own poems and things like that they were writing on their own time. And that started getting like just really lovely, where, you know, you can feel satisfied, you know, like I know, I say that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Where I know I'm not crazy. I'm not just speaking into the world, you know, nice, positive things, but people are receiving them.
Yeah.
You know, people are reflecting on them. People care about them. And then they're caring about their own thoughts, their own feelings, right? And it's just this beautiful, never ending recycling that's just great. And I also love the environment. So recycling's awesome.
What's an experience you've had with somebody else where you can see that this has gone beyond art and it's
Yeah.
taken on that aspect of helping somebody communicate something they needed to communicate?
Yeah. Well, you know what? In any kind of safe space that I encourage, right, when I'm writing or when other people are writing, is that I let them know, if you're feeling vulnerable about what you're writing about, you're in the right neighborhood. You know what I mean? You want to stay there. You want to feel out what you're feeling, because once you get through those vulnerable parts, you almost get to this place of almost, I'd say, between ownership and strength. Like it's a combination where now you own those things you were once vulnerable about, right? You were once vulnerable about, and at the same time, you get this strength from owning it, you know, that you didn't understand before, maybe didn't think was possible before, right? So in the same sense with I'd say even with being in a hospital, right? Or things like that, where you know, first you're in denial of whatever thing you got. You're like, no, I don't. Right. And then you get to that place where like, no, I get it now. Like I understand it. Right. I understand the kind of different kind of things I have to do now in my lifestyle to change to work with this thing. And you start owning it, right? You start feeling a little bit better about it in that sense, at least. And it's the same thing with our emotions. It's the same thing with every insecurity we have when we write. And I've seen people bring up, whether it was it's kind of childhood trauma or current abuses with family or things like that, or even the sense of feeling not worthy, right? Especially that's so prevalent, you know, when you hear that. And so yeah, in art, in every kind of art, that's so prevalent. So to get to those places where people are opening up with that, and this is not me like twisting their arm to say something personal, right? I'm not like, I just provide the space for them to write. Maybe I'll give some quotes for people to think about, right?
Yeah.
And this is what comes out, because I think so many of us want to get it out. We need to get it out so it doesn't eat us up inside, you know?
Yeah.
And so many ways that we can get something out, whether it's painting, whether it's poetry, right? Like, I don't really care. Like, I'm happy any way someone gets it out. But with poetry specifically, I see people's imagination, which is unlimited, right? Infinite imagination. And you're using it with this finite problem, with this smaller problem maybe in life. And so it's almost like poetry's always going to win. It's like every time poetry's going to beat this thing, whatever you're fighting, you know? So I love knowing that about poetry, for sure. For sure.
Tell me about poetry. I mean, when do you first remember having that spark or that connection of, you know, do you have like one strong memory that you tie that to, that you go, yes, this is the thing?
Oh, let me tell you, Mr. Levi's. You said your name horribly wrong. So, Mr. Leviathan, Mr. Let me tell you about back in my day when I was starting my poetry. It felt so good, man. The first time I really needed to use it was like with a breakup in high school, right? I was already doing it for a little bit with my brother, my older brother, and we were writing like rap poems and having fun with it. And the first time I remember really using it though to get something heavy off the chest, man. This breakup, man. I remember feeling no closure about it, and it just like ended really quickly and abruptly. And you know, high school wise, like I think I tried to talk about it with her, and like we were like, she tried to talk, but then like it was just, we got really upset or frustrated really quickly, and then we just didn't talk again, right? For like a whole year. And I remember writing a poem one time. I was on vacation with my family in New York. All my family's from New York. And I remember writing, and I was feeling so messed up about it. I was just trying to write something out to get some ideas and feelings out about it. And I wrote about how my relationship was like a candle. right? The metaphor of a candle came, and I started writing that something about if this candle was meant to burn out and the wick has ended where it needed to end, and there can be no more light coming from this candle, then I'll be okay, you know, or like I'll still be able to find my own candle and light it again, or something like that. It was something like beautiful and cathartic, where I just like I just started crying. I was like, oh my God, oh yeah. And it came out, like so much of that came out.
Yeah.
Of these feelings that I wasn't like, I didn't know how to handle at the time, or I just couldn't put to words if I was just talking to someone. And so when I reflected on it and I wrote this out, and I felt this release and this understanding of myself, you know, when I understood my emotions better, it felt like I knew what to do with them now. You know, I felt like I knew where to put them, you know. And I'd say that time, along with when I went to my first open mic night, when I like heard amazing poetry from so many professionals and new people that were just sharing their poem for the first time. It was at this place called the Poetry Lounge. It was man, it was wow, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Whoa, such a good night. And I remember the artist even. I remember his name was Sekou Andrews. He was doing a poem, and I remember that moment. I think I could see his aura. Like he was like a yellow. I don't know. I was having like a supernatural spiritual experience. Like I felt like no one else was in the room. And there was like 100 people packed into the space. It was the most popular. It's the most popular open mic like in the country, right? And I remember feeling like this moment of just, we're all together in this community, listening to one person share a story that means something to them.
Yeah.
And we all care about it. Like you could feel everyone just quiet as just so beautifully quiet, just listening with our hearts. You know what I mean? And I was like, I think I want to do this forever. Like, I'm pretty sure I want to do this forever now. Yeah. Yes. And also the last thing I could say about it was that we even went to this open mic, me and my friends and castmates, from a play called Blasting Holes in the Night. And it was in college. And so we had to do spoken word in this play. So we had to learn about the open mic community and go out there and share our own poems that we created. So those kind of combination of I'd say the kind of specialness of poetry with the impact of poetry, and then with my own personal catharsis and expression, like my emotions getting out, all three of those moments, I think, define how I've embraced spoken word. Yeah.
So
yes.
Tell me, with how much poetry means to you and the way you've engaged with others in poetry, do you have a word that you could sum up the power of what poetry is to you?
These kind of questions are so phenomenally hard, okay, for any artist. Let me know. I just want you to know that, all right?
You can say cool. I've used it, but you can use it.
Oh man, I could think about this all day, but I would say freedom. It's freedom. It's mental freedom, emotional freedom. If you're spiritual freedom. There's so much freedom to find in poetry for me. And once you really concretely believe that your imagination is infinite and that there's no limits to it, right? That even all the stories, all the songs, all the movies, everything you've ever read up to this point in history right now was created from someone's imagination, or they even took some of other people's imaginations and infused it into their own to make something different and new. So even in that way, there's truly limitless, infinitely limitless ways to express your imagination. And I think that sums up most of it. I think just that freedom of feeling like I could live life in many more ways than I ever thought I could, you know?
Man, beautiful. So do you have some freedom that you can offer us? Do you have some kids and some hospitals you want to dedicate this to?
Absolutely. This is a poem that I first made years ago, and it almost became like an affirmational poem for myself, you know, that encourages me, that brings me up a little bit in my day. when it's a tough day, you know? And I'd say, yeah, I'd say also to anyone, you know, watching this, all you amazing rock stars out there, that if you want to write a poem that's for yourself, that's about you and your dreams and your goals, that's the most beautiful way to make yourself feel good about poetry and feel good about your own life too. It's just so fun. All right. And you'll see what I mean. All right. You ready? I open mics like autopsies, commune with perspectives like dissected organs, absorbing the truth within every story until I needed a sedative. I became bored with the negatives, lyrically spliced life is much like roll dice and practice true positivity till I finally became immune to negativity like oranges with vitamin C breaking hinges off the door. If you invited me to a pity party, hardly a force to be reckoned with, infected with so much positivity, I pee pet peeves until my pee is seen clearly. So positive, even the negatives in my mind added a line just to become a plus sign to stop opposing and grow with me. Even my fears want to hang out sometimes, and I hug them until they can cope with the scope of non-existence. It's just what happens when a focused mind has way too much time to think. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. My name is Sean Hill, and rockstars, it is a pleasure to meet you. This is just the first poem that I'm rapping. I'm just a baby waking up from his napping, learning how to walk and talk this life, from writing with chalk and concrete to rocking with break beats. Hip hop became my training wheels to the point where I could speak. So forget about doing hip hop. I pop and lock and then eat hip hop. I am what I speak, and if you are what you eat, then I am hip hop. Reincarnated, never debated to be the best. I ain't trying to be nothing less than myself. So help me or not, my throat is on fire. I don't mean to burn you. I'm just breaking shackles like Nat Turner, but believe equality like Gandhi. See, I'm not a peace Nazi. The paparazzi couldn't stop me from getting the scoop like Cold Stone. I'm home alone in the zone like, oh, fellow, hello, is anyone out here? If I scream and no one hears me, do I make a sound? Check marks the box, like it or not. I don't need your approval for this to be hot. And if it's ice cold, well, I honestly don't know and don't care. But to be fair, I care if it's true. So let's play out the facts. I got your back like chiropractors. I want to be in your scene like the best actors. Hey, your DNA is beautiful. Let me be the X factor. But I got to get going eventually. So please don't miss me. I'll be back before you know I'm gone. I want to bring you songs better than fairy tales and nightingales. So I'm getting on tracks like John Henry and offend me. Almost impossible. It wouldn't be logical. It's more probable to turn your ever energy into something possible like world peace. And even then, many say that's highly unlikely, like a lock without a key, but I bend reality. We can all bend reality. We can turn the improbable into the everyday ordinary. Thanks for listening.
Oh, man, Sean, that's... I don't even have a word. There's so much power and passion and depth and positive. The idea of taking the negative in your mind and adding a line till it's a positive. How beautiful. How incredibly beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh my, you are so welcome. And thanks again for listening. When I say thank you for listening, by the way, I mean that to the fullest extent. Like, it's not just a polite thing I say, because it takes a lot to listen. You know, it takes so much heart and patience to listen to people. So every time I share a poem, I always try to remind myself to say, thanks for listening, man. And you listen good. That part was earlier in the poem. So you were listening really good.
That tuned in. You had me. You had me from the first scratch.
Oh, you.
Man, thank you so much. Do you have any final words that you want to leave with our rock stars and with the world?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So at a risk of sharing too many words, which again is a problem of a lot of us poets, I can narrow it down to maybe 3 ideas, right? One, I'd say the idea of being a superhero, right? My favorite superhero is the Flash, right? I wore the shirt specifically because I love the heart of the Flash. He's the kind of superhero that doesn't even give up on his enemies. You know, he believes in his enemies so much that they can change around or come back to the side of good, right? And all that kind of stuff. So if you have a favorite superhero and they're inspiring you, like, please keep using them. You know, I was reading comic books ever since I was little, and especially with Black Panther passing away, right? That man, Chadwick, it was one of those moments where I know for myself now that I need to believe in the morality and the good that I can do in this world more than ever before. And superheroes embody that, you know, even without their powers, they always try to do the good in the world and do their best, you know? So that's my first thing. Second, I also love the quote, "We are the ones we've been waiting for," right? That one sums it up in any kind of dream you want to accomplish, anything that you want to do in your life, to know that you don't really have to wait for anyone else, that you are the one that can make it happen. You know, if you do need help along the way, absolutely ask for help and don't stop until you get it, you know? And last but not least, it is better to light a candle than to curse the dark. That quote from me, I've applied it to everything. I've seen it work in every situation, with the exception of like chemical imbalances and, you know, people that like can't really follow linear thoughts or like ADD. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. But in general, generally speaking, a quote like that, where you always want to add good to a situation, always add love to a situation, always add empathy to a situation, just to add light in some way. You know, I've seen arguments turn around completely when I've asked someone, "Hey, what do you need? What am I missing that you need?" And it's no longer about what I want. It's no longer about what I need in the conversation. And they feel so good from just hearing someone care about them, you know? And so I've seen that quote work in my own life and historically speaking. So those three things, I think you're in great hands with those ideas, with those concepts. So yeah.
Words of wisdom from Shawn Hill. Man, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course. My God, anytime. Love you guys. Super rock stars. Oh man, so good. And then you know what? So I wanted to specifically dedicate a little bit better than maybe you normally get the chance to, all you rock stars out there. So this goes out to the illustrious Luca in Australia, hanging out lovely down under with your heart more powerful than thunder. The amazing Kira from Vermont, no need to flaunt. When you write poetry, you can play with all the fonts. Teylor, cooling out in Arizona, keeping chill and upbeat, a pleasure to know ya. Mason in Texas, you're like the bestest, passing life tests like a master of chess, yes. Princess Lexy in Oregon, you make me feel sure again in life, just reminding you can do anything. So whether you're watching, even from Washington, like Jerry, I know you're washing life a ton. Use all the soap you need. I promise the hard work will be fun. And this goes out to George Mart Children's Hospital in California, Floating Children's Hospital at Tufts Medical Center in Boston, New York Presbyterian or Mary Bridge Children's in Washington too, New Orleans Children's Hospital, I can't forget you. Seacrest Studios, keeping it musical. This goes out to every single one of you to remind you that you are so beautiful. And remember, it's not a compliment, it's a fact.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're a musician and would like to join us in supporting hospitalized kids, email us at rockstar@melodiccaring.org. I'm Levi Ware, and this is the Melodic Caring Project.